Hello friends, welcome to Alkem IAS. This is Dr. Rajesh Kumar Mohan, continuing with Indian Express Demystified series. Today we will be discussing 19th May Indian Express newspaper. So first of all, I'd like to say and tell about myself. I am Dr. Rajesh Kumar Mohan. I have done MBBS from Government Medical College, Chandigarh. I have also worked as Assistant Medical Officer in Indian Ordnance Factory Health Services. In civil services, this is my 5th attempt. I have written mains for 4 times. I have cleared mains exam and has appeared for 2019 interview and also appearing in 2020 interview. I have qualified UPSC as Superintendent of Jails. So let's start with today's newspaper. The first article in the newspaper is about a glimmer of hope. So this is with regard to the pandemic, how the caseload is reducing. So the case, according to the experts, right now, with regard to the second peak, we are witnessing a peak, and all the experts are saying that with passage of time, the number of cases will decrease only. So this is on account of measurement of 2 factors. One is R naught value, and second is positivity rate. So what is positivity rate? Positivity rate is percentage of those samples which are tested positive. So if say about out of 100 samples that were taken of COVID, and out of the 100 samples, 20% are coming positive, then it is called that there is a positivity rate of 20%. As all the cases of COVID are not being tested because some are asymptomatic also, some are not able to access the testing infrastructure. So the slight positivity rate is used to know the extent of infection prevalent. So what we are witnessing right now is that the positivity rate is declining. So what it means is that lesser cases are coming. Second is R naught value. So R naught is the term for is reproduction number. The full form of this R naught term is reproduction number. So what is reproduction number? It is the average number of cases that infected case, average number of the people that would be infected by a patient of COVID-19. So a person is there, and how many more it is infected. So it is a statistical number. So when it reduces less, when it is 1, that means that a person is transmitting to 1 more person the same virus. Right now, our R naught number has reduced to less than 1. So what do you mean by less than 1? Is that now R naught value is less than 1. This means that on an average, 1 person is transmitting to less than 1 number of cases. So in a way, it shows that now peak has arrived, and now decline in total number of the cases will also happen in the future. So however, despite this glimmer of hope, we should be careful about ensuring that COVID appropriate behavior is ensured. These statistics are showing that right now the second wave, the peak has reached, and we are going to witness a decline in the future. So let's move on to the second article. So this is about COVID, Delhi government's decision that they will give some relief to those impacted by the COVID. First is that some ex gratia relief would be given to those people who have died of COVID-19. For that, testing, COVID test would have to be shown to the authorities. Second is, the biggest problem is that the child and those children whose parents have died, so they have become orphan. So Delhi government is coming with the policy that they would be getting a monthly payment, a monthly amount of money in order to take care of themselves. And second, all the education of these children will be financed by the Delhi government. This is a nice initiative because right now the COVID is creating some financial problems also, and the problem the distress these children, orphan children, are facing is we cannot express it in words. It's very severe. So they are most vulnerable section. Consider the fact that these people were having both the parents alive a few months back, and now because of COVID, a large number of people, these children are becoming orphaned. So these kind of incentives should be taken by other governments also, and the union government also should look into it. At the same time, Delhi Chief Minister made a statement that right now in Singapore we are witnessing a new variant of a virus, and it is high time that India should stop flights between Singapore and India. However, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has criticized it as an irresponsible statement, and it's saying that Delhi's chief minister is neither an expert detailing who can tell about the new COVID strain, and second, neither he is in the union government, so he cannot comment about the aviation policy of the union government. So these are the this is the political issue. Singapore government has responded that there is no new Singapore variant. In fact, the variant that is most prevalent is the B1617.2. So this B1617 is the one which was noticed in India for the which was detected in India for the first time. It's only that there are more clusters of these cases developing in Singapore right now. So this is the developing story. Let's move forward. So this is an article stemming India's healthcare brain drain. So what is right now? The article is saying that India is an exporter of healthcare workers. In fact, especially to the Gulf countries, to the Europe, to other English-speaking countries like US. In fact, according to OECD data, in 2017, we had approximately 69,000 Indian doctors working in US and UK. So this is a huge chunk, and because some people are saying the low doctor-patient ratio, there is it is also because in India, which is prevalent, is also because of a huge immigration of doctors and other healthcare workers outside the country. So what are the reasons for immigration of the healthcare workforce outside the country? There are both push factors and pull factors. So these foreign jurisdictions are having policies that pull these qualified healthcare workers. For example, they have liberalized visa scheme. In fact, UK government relaxed the visa scheme. Then USA also gave some incentive. France gave an incentive of providing citizenship to those people who were working, those immigrants who were working in the COVID front line. So all these pull factors are there. In fact, they are encouraging the healthcare workers to go there. However, there are push factors within India. So these are those push factors are those factors which are forcing people to take steps so that they go outside. First of all, we see the employment situation in India is very low. In fact, and even if the employment is there, it is not remunerative. We can take an example of nurses here. So nurses in the private sector get very less amount of money, and the kind of work they do is very taxing. So they feel let down when they are not getting the emoluments in commensurate to the work they are doing. Third problem is that there is lack of investment in the public health infrastructure. In fact, there are a huge number of vacancies in public health departments which are not being filled on the regular time. So those vacancies are idle. And fourth problem is that there is no motivation for the people to continue in the government sector, because the pay structure is like that. And also in rural areas, the basic infrastructure where they can use their knowledge is also limited. So all these factors are resulting in push and pull factors, resulting in huge immigration of Indian healthcare workers outside the country. In fact, the brain drain is happening. What has government done? Government has taken various steps recently in order to stem this brain drain. First of all, there is something called in 2015, 2014, they stopped issuing NORI certificates. What is NORI certificate? NORI means no objection to return to India certificate. So if a doctor is going to US, he generally goes on J1 visa, which is for study visa because higher studies are there. But if he wants to stay in US after completing the study, the NORI certificate from the domestic countries has to be issued. But in 2014 onwards, India has stopped issuing NORI visa, NORI certificate. That is no objection to return to India. So this NORI certificate is not there. So that is one step that government has taken. Second thing that government has taken is immigration check requirement category has been introduced for nurses. Those nurses who are going immigrating out. So what now provisions are there? They have to apply through the 6 institutions of government-sponsored employment agencies. They should have international contracts in order to get the employments. All these policies are taken by the government in order to ensure that the no brain drain occurs. However, the problem with these policies are they are restrictive in nature. In fact, they do not offer long-term solutions. So, excuse me. So they do not offer long-term solutions. In order to give long-term solutions, what we have to go for? We have to go for investment in healthcare infrastructure, because especially public investment. In fact, it is said that we will share this data. So Human Development Report says that there are only 5 hospital beds per 10,000 population. So it is the lowest whole over the world. Not only in the compared to the Western countries, but throughout the world, the lowest number of beds to population ratio is there in India. Clearly, we need to the government need to invest on that. Third, one more suggestion that can be there is we can encourage something called circular migration. So what is circular migration? Is that these professionals who are going outside to get this professional education, for example, J1 visa of US government. So that is about getting the professional qualifications over there. So after getting those studies done, they should be encouraged to come back to and serve in India. So that can be there. So, and second can be there, then we can have some brain share, idea of brain share. So what happens is that India can go for brain share agreements with these bilateral agreement with these countries, which clearly should specify that during the time of pandemic or any other epidemic, there should be a process through which these people who have gone to the other countries, they can be called back and to work in Indian healthcare system, so that the needs of India's healthcare system are also met. So this is an article, and it explains all the facets and what can be done in order to tackle the brain drain. So let's move on to the next article. It is India, Israel, and Palestine. So right now, as we know background, what is the issue is happening? There is a violence going on between Israel and Palestine. Violence is there. So even though the root cause is way back around Israel and Palestine conflict, right from the phase of when Israel was declared an independent country, right from that time onwards, the conflict between Israel and Palestine is going on. In fact, it is considered as the world's longest international conflict in the known history, because 1948 to present, when the conflict has not been resolved, it is continuing only. So the immediate cause was that some Palestinians in East Jerusalem were there were policies in encouraging their displacement, and there were reports that 2 families would be deported out of the East Palestine. It is a part of what people call 100-day war of Israel on the Palestinians. So what is that? Is that the policies like displacement, displacing the people, property should be given back, taken from the Palestinian and given to the Jews. This kind of policy is there, and the violence is increasing day by day with the rockets being fired from all the sides. So right now, what is the present status? We are having Israel. So, and we are having PLA and we are having Hamas. So what is there right now? So initially PLA used to be a negotiating authority. However, a split happened. Now Hamas is controlling the Gaza, and PLA, Palestinian Liberation Authority. It is is administering all the Palestinian territories, and there is a state of Israel. At the UN level, we are having Israel as a full member of it, but the state of Palestine is not there. So that is the present situation. There is a long history of Israel-Palestine conflict. However, this article deals with how India's relations with Israel and Palestine. So what has been the change? So according to the article, there have been three phases into it. So first of all, first 4 decades. So it was by the led by Prime Minister Nehru. Then 1992, and then 2014 onwards. So these 4 trends can be seen in how India has taken to it. So initial 4 decades, India took a pro-Palestinian approach. So it was, in fact, what were the manifestation of pro-Palestinian process was that India was, in fact, we can say, first country, a non-Arab country, which focused, which said, recognized that Palestinians have right to self-determination. So it was first non-Arab country. Second is when PLA was formed, under PLA was formed, and the leader was there. So when the PLA was formed, then India was categorical and was the first non-Arab country to recognize PLA as a government, and they in fact also opened diplomatic ties with PLA, and in fact the leader of PLA was given us leader of state welcome when he used to visit India. So these were manifestation of pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel. How it was anti-Israel? So we never, even though we recognized Israel, but as Honorable Prime Minister Pandit Nehru said, that it is an established fact. That's why we recognized Israel. But we did not have diplomatic ties with it initially. We had only had a consul in Maharashtra that was there in order to provide visas to those Indian Jews and Indian Christians who wanted to go there to visit the holy shrines of these religions. So that was there even that was after some time it was abolished. So that is the thing that the stand of India with there. So what was the reason for pro-Israel policy? There were multiple reasons for this. First of all, India was also divided to some extent on religious lines. So there, Israel was a state created on the basis of religion. So there was an ideological opposition to creation to Israel, idea of Israel. Second aspect was that India was later on developed a dependence on Arab countries for the oil imports. So in a way, economic interest was also more in line with the Arab countries. Third issue was that there was a solidarity to the Palestinian cause. And third, there was sensitive, fourth was that the sensitive Indian, we have a large Muslim population. So the sensitivity of this Muslim population was clearly against the Israel because it is a religious issue. So these were the initial 4 decades. However, 1992 post collapse of the during Prime Minister Rao's time, we went for a reset in it. So reset was there, balancing act was there. So what balancing was that? It started with we starting having defense relationships. But defense, science and tech, agricultural relationship, in these areas we were having relationship with Israel, but that relationship was not recognized at the highest level. However, this policy went a drastic change post 2014. So post 2014, we had NDA coming to power. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. So what were the changes that happened? Prime Minister Modi take the ownership of the issue. In fact, now it is said that we are having a de-hyphenated policy. So in fact, India's Prime Minister Modi became first Indian Prime Minister to visit Israel. Second aspect is that in 2017 visit. So generally, when any interaction with Palestinian authorities used to occur, then India used to had a customary statement saying that East Jerusalem should be capital of Palestine only. But this time, from that moment onwards, the government of India is skipping this line from its official communications. So what right now we are having is a dehyphenated policy that we will engage with Israel and Palestine as two separate entities, and will not be so the policy would not be based on how the others would perceive when we engage with Israel, or say we engage with Palestine, how the other side would perceive it. So that is the present policy. The advantage of this policy is that is a balancing policy, and whenever we need, we can support anyway. So sometimes we support Israel, sometimes we support Palestine. For example, recently we took a balanced view with regard to the Israel-Palestinian violence. In fact, it is considered a pro-Palestinian movement. However, we skipped, were absent from UN resolution condemning Israel for genocide in that particular region. So all these things are there with regard to India's policy. So we can say there were three phases. India initially had a pro-Palestinian policy, then there was reset in 1992 and 2014 onwards. We have a dehyphenated policy and a little more bias towards the Israel. And we are taking the ownership of a diplomatic engagement with Israel, and we are showing to the world that we are engaging with Israel in a direct way rather than depending. In fact, this policy, new policy, is being also seen in Arab countries also. Recently, we had Abraham Accords and other engagements where these Arab countries are also recognizing Palestine. So with this, today's newspaper comes to an end. So I would like to thank you all for listening to today's newspaper. Again, I would like to join our Telegram channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link, the address is given here. And I hope you are liking our videos. So I think with this, today's newspaper come to end, and thank you for supporting me in making these videos. More and more such videos would be coming. Keep on liking us, keep on asking your doubts on the comment section, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please do take care because the second wave is going on, and be happy, be healthy. And that's my message. Thank you so much for listening to me.